Disney didn't ruin Star Wars. Filoni was already doing that. He's not the Lord and Savior. He's the thing that got the ball rolling. This is what you wanted. This is what you're getting. Stop complaining. If you don't like it, maybe actually take a close look and be like, I was part of the problem because I was like, oh yeah, this is peak Star Wars right here. When in doubt, go to the source. I have so many doubts about this show. I don't think they want me to go to the source. Because I would just sit them down and be like, okay, we're going to go through every episode together. And you're going to explain some things here. Because this just doesn't make sense.
I love how they got a whole giant case for this tiny little slide.
They do that a lot, though, like in media. Like, you'll quite often, like, oh, they've got the briefcase. You open up the briefcase and there's this tiny little thing, like a USB stick sometimes. And you're like, why didn't they just put it in their pocket? Maybe be a little more subtle.
Yeah, like on one hand, yeah, it's for security reasons, but on the other hand, yeah, like it's not subtle at all. It's basically the thing you want is right here. Come and get it.
I'd like to see, because they've done it a lot where they're like, oh, we'll have several briefcases and they won't know which briefcase it's in. Just one time, I want to see them have a bunch of briefcases, but it's in none of them. It's literally just in somebody's pocket. One time, people. Give it to me. One time.
I was trying to save my friend.
Perhaps by removing this tumor, it was you who killed him.
You were gonna kill him anyway, and dissect him too. He's a soldier. He deserves better.
Stand down, Fives. Doctor, there is no proof of your claim.
Isn't Fives showing himself to be defective here? So why isn't the doctor lady being like, oh, you're clearly defective and we should deal with this? This is where it becomes touchy, because it's like, okay, like in this context, does submissive mean that they'll follow orders? But is it kind of like Ella Enchanted, where as long as she doesn't receive a direct order, she can behave however she wants? But if she's given a direct order, then it's like, okay, gotta fall in line. Is it a spirit of the law or a letter of the law kind of thing? Because the way he's acting to me is like, okay, well, he's not being submissive. He's not. Because robots are the perfect soldiers. I mean, in TCW, they're completely moronic, which is hilarious, but completely incompetent, so they would not be the perfect soldiers. But in the sense that they don't think for themselves, they just do whatever you say, they behave however you want. Be gone, noisy vehicle. And my train of thought left with the vehicle! No, I got it. I sort of got it. So the clones were essentially supposed to be droids, but with a little bit of independent thought so that they could think on their feet on the battlefield. So that you don't constantly have to be sending out orders for right? Like, they have flexibility that the robots don't. Droids. I call them robots because they're robots, but like in Star Wars, they're not called robots, they're called droids, and I'm just... sorry, because there are people who will be like, they're not robots, they're droids. I'm sorry. Moving on. As I was saying, are the clones supposed to be more submissive than what we're seeing from Fives here? Or is this within the range of normality, right? Like, because this is part of the problem with giving the clones all these, like, individualistic traits, is that, like, when she gives him the order, stand down, he stands down. But 10 seconds before that, less than 10 seconds before that, he was stabbing his finger in the lady's face and yelling at her, and... so it's kind of like, okay, because that doesn't strike me as something you'd want in a soldier, right? Not the perfect soldier.
This is why Filoni's version of the clones is so stupid, because, like, he's so lazy, and, like, this is evident in all his writing. It's so vague. He wants his cake, and he wants to eat it too. You can't do that. It just doesn't work in writing.
The Chancellor said the tumor and data was to be sent directly to the medical facility on Coruscant.
It will get there. But after the Jedi have run an analysis on it first.
I protest. I must personally deliver the tumor to the Chancellor as ordered.
You can protest all you want. My word is final.
Shakti being a boss. I love it.
I'm sorry, I have to disagree with her because I've watched so much CSI that it's basically been hammered into my head at this point, proper procedure. They have this whole thing about the evidence. The evidence has to get from point A to point B, no stops, no risk of exposure whatsoever, or else they have to throw it out. And I think it would be the same here. You can't just we're gonna go to the Jedi first and it'll get to where it's supposed to go eventually. No, you can't do that.
But there is a bit of a difference because this isn't evidence for a court case, right? In that sense, yeah, you have to be extra boom, 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 because when you're presenting it in court, there cannot be even a sliver of doubt that this evidence is as it stands, right? That it hasn't been tampered with. So there is that aspect. Also, in this case, they've shown us that the Kaminoans are not trustworthy. And so having Shakti without that knowledge being no, there's something up here and I'm gonna follow my gut, and right, so we are supposed to root for her, though if I'm looking at it in the sense that, yeah, I don't know how to because you have a point, but I feel like it's a little bit different because they're not treating this as evidence for a court case. They're just, oh, we're trying to figure out what's happening here. And there's something off about you and your insistence on doing things this way and keeping us out of it. So I'm kind of okay, I want to have our people go over this first. So I do kind of think that it works.
I feel like what she could have done was that she accompanies Nala Se to the lab on Coruscant. Because, the question is, they've only got one sample, right? So would the Coruscant lab use up that entire sample in their studies and then leave nothing left for the Jedi to inspect? But, wouldn't that apply vice versa, too? Because what if she takes it to the Jedi and then they kind of use up the whole sample, or take too much of it that the Coruscant lab can't use anything? There's so many problems with this.
I almost got the impression, though, that the Jedi were going to use the Force to analyze it. I could be completely wrong, and maybe, we'll see that, no, they're going to actually. But you also have to consider, their technology as well, right? In CSI, they're using technology that is or is possible to analyze the evidence, right? And so in our processes, yes, it ends up getting used up. But in their processes, could they analyze it without destroying or harming the sample? And then the other thing is yeah, if she just accompanied her to Coruscant, are the lab techs there also Kaminoans or in league with the Kaminoans such that she would be concerned of it going to them first? Or is it okay, well, as long as I kind of go along, see who's handling it, make sure that it's trustworthy people or whatever,
she could literally just ask to oversee it. So she's there 100% of the time, and she's watching everything to make sure it's all A-okay, up to board, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but then that raises the question, well, is she able to leave Kaminoa, or is it kind of nah, we need you to stay there all the time and there's nobody else who can come and escort this or meet the person when they land and then, go to the lab with them?
That is kind of an interesting question because, every single time we've seen Shakti, she's been here. Do you have nothing else to do? But, that...
She's under house arrest.
Oh, no. Poor Shakti. Yeah, it's weird. I guess she just lives there. But yeah, you could always just she could contact the council and say, hey, can you send someone else to go oversee this? That would work fine.
It looks like R2-D2's there. Okay, that droid used to look blue and now it looks green, so I don't know if I missaw it or what. It looked like R2-D2.
Now come on!
Whoa!
Come on, here, let me shove you. What the heck?
Yeah, I thought he was pushing him toward the door, but then he just pushes him off to the side and just runs out without him, and I'm oh. And now they're just walking around. Urgency! Oh no, we're just going for a walk.
You have one more physical to pass.
I heard your mind was going to be wiped.
So was Shakti in on the idea of wiping him? Because that's not the impression I got, but she was kind of cryptic in how she was like, oh, just one more test and then everything will be fine.
How does she run in that skirt?
How does Barris climb in heels?
She was wearing a skirt too. So she was climbing in a skirt and heels. Like, no, that's physically impossible. Not to mention she also crawled in a skirt. Physics. Dude, why is he being such a bully to AZ?
I don't know. Let's go to the source.
Any more questions, Doctor?
Actually, yes, now that you mention it. I am equipped with...
Droids.
A thank you would have been nice.
Yeah, what the heck? What is wrong with Fives?
I was looking forward to like a nice kind of like droid clone buddy story here, and he's being just a jerk, and it's really bringing it down for me.
What does this clone know?
Nothing as of yet. He's just a soldier after all. However, he was a friend to the clone which malfunctioned.
What the heck is this dialogue? He knows nothing. He's just a soldier. Soldiers apparently know nothing. But he was a friend to the clone who died, so that means he does know something. What?
I think it's more supposed to be like, oh, you know, they look down on the clones, right? They're just cannon fodder. They're not like full humans. Yeah, knowing that you're kind of like, because if you're not concerned about him figuring it out because he's just a soldier, he doesn't have the intelligence, then why are you even bothering to bring it to him? But if it's like, oh, he doesn't know anything yet, but he might be able to figure something out, then why add the, he's just a soldier, you know? Like, that doesn't make sense. And then, yeah, she adds the friend, and the way she says friend is kind of like, oh, these weird human, connections, interactions, like, what's with that? I don't understand. But yeah, the more they go and contact Dooku, the more I'm like, what is their stake in this? Why do they keep going back to Dooku and being like, oh yes, we have to conceal this from the Jedi. Only you can be told what's going on. Nobody else. So you know that you're working for the bad guys and you're just cool with it? I feel like you're getting paid by the Republic, and if you know anything about this guy, you know he's not the Republic. And if you don't know anything about this guy, why don't you know anything about this guy? Why do you keep contacting somebody you have no idea about when your boss is the Republic, your client is the Republic? Do you think this guy is a Republic representative? Because you know who the Republic representatives are, and it's not this guy. So you're like, okay, my client is the Republic, but anytime something goes wrong with the Republic's product that they are paying me for, I'm going to go to this other person, and maybe I know that person is their enemy, my client's enemy, maybe I don't, but either which way, I'm gonna go to them and talk to them about the problems that my client's product is having. And these representatives that work very closely with my client, I'm going to hide everything from them because this guy over here told me, don't tell them because they're a threat to the Republic, or they might be. It's in the case that one of them becomes a threat to the Republic, so you can't tell any of them because this makes, I hate everything. Okay, let's go to the source. You want to take a trip down to Star Wars headquarters? Where is that?
First the malfunctioning clone, and now a renegade. Are you certain these soldiers will live up to your design in the end?
No. What was it back in like season 1 or 2? We had the deserter. Oh, wow! A renegade clone! It's not like that's ever happened before. Not like clones have ever disobeyed orders. Oh wait, no, we see them do it all the bloody time. What? How are the Kaminoans still in business? How?
And again, it raises the question, Like I was just talking about earlier, like what level of submissiveness are the clones supposed to have? Because Dooku's talking here, like, whoa, 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 you're not supposed to have anybody even slightly out of line. So are you sure that our plan is gonna work out? Like, are they gonna perform as we ordered them to? And it's just like, dude, if you've even talked to one clone by now, if you've seen a single one in action, you should know that they're not up here. But if he's saying that they're supposed to be up here, and that was my impression, then everything we've been seeing doesn't make any sense, and the Kaminoans should be just like, okay, the whole experiment was a wash. I'm sorry, guys. Like, you don't have to pay us for this batch or the last batch or the next batch because, like, they all have this weird individuality about them that makes them pretty crummy products. They're still good soldiers, but they're pretty crummy products because this is what was expected and this is what we said we were delivering and this is what you're getting. How are the Kaminoans still in business, as you said?
How do you explain the renegade?
I'm afraid the Jedi have inspired creative thinking in some of the clones.
How? If they were programmed to follow every order, how the heck would the Jedi inspire creative thinking? What sense does that make?
If you have bred them to be incapable of independence because you need them to perfectly submit, they wouldn't be capable of creative thinking. And now you're like, oh, well, they just been inspired to think creatively by the Jedi. The Jedi have ruined our product. It's like, okay, like I already said, part of the reason that they went with clones instead of droids was because they wanted a bit of creative thinking. They wanted some independence, flexibility, so that they could make decisions on the battlefield without needing to be told what to do all the time. And now she's like, no, that was because of the Jedi. The Jedi inspired that creative thinking, that, flexibility. So we just gave you more expensive droids that were completely useless, but with a little bit of inspiration, now they're even more useless. I don't understand. This whole arc, this whole idea of the chip is what makes them go against the Jedi, like, it's just adding so much more garbage onto what was already the problematic, every clone is an individual idea, right? So they had a bad idea. And then it was like, oh crap, we've kind of put ourselves in a corner with this idea because now we have to explain how these clones who all think for themselves would have done this horrible thing, and we have to, make it so that our audience who now likes all these clones doesn't hate them because they willingly do this horrific thing that they as free thinkers could have chosen not to do. So now we have to put another bad idea on top of that to justify this bad idea and make it work. If that's fixing the prequels, I'm sorry, you have a bad definition of fixing. That's not fixing. That's mutating and destroying, and this is just bad writing. There was nothing wrong with George's idea that they were bred so that when they were given an order, they followed that order. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't need to be fixed. And so then they're like, oh, we're gonna fix that. And they make it worse. And then they're like, oh, wait, now we got a problem because we have to explain this. So then they add more bad writing on top of it. And this is pre-Disney TCW, right? Everyone's like, oh, season 7 is awful because Disney got their hands on it. No, seasons 1 to 6 suck too. They just are terrible. Disney didn't ruin Star Wars. Filoni was already doing that. He's not the Lord and Savior. He's the thing that got the ball rolling. This is what you wanted. This is what you're getting. Stop complaining. If you don't like it, maybe, actually take a close look and be like, I was part of the problem because I was like, oh yeah, this is peak Star Wars right here.
Will this interfere with Protocol 66?
No, I am certain of that.
How? How can you be certain? I guess to an extent, Tup kind of proved that the clones would not be able to go against Protocol 66 because, he went from perfectly fine, normal like everybody else, and then just straight up shot a Jedi. So in that sense, you could be like, yeah, I'm pretty certain that this will go through. But again, how did they foresee this, right? How was it like, oh, we'd better make sure that we put this special chip in the clones' brains to make sure that they obey this one order, because when we give them to the client, then the client's allies will inspire creative thinking and cause the clones to not act the way that they are supposed to be programmed to act. You want a product that will obey your every order, okay? We will deliver. We will make sure that we put a chip in them for one order, so that one order will be obeyed no matter what. But we can't guarantee that for any of the other orders, but that's okay, right? Because we're certain that the order that is contained on this chip will be the order that works against the allies that are going to inspire creative thinking in the product so that they won't follow all the other orders. And so, we have to make sure that the one order that's against those allies is the order that's on the chip. This is such BS! None of this makes sense! What? And again, why is it called an inhibitor chip? Is it because it's inhibiting their creative thinking that was inspired by the Jedi but was not supposed to be part of them? None of this makes sense! Why would you need an inhibitor chip to inhibit individuality when you could have bred it out of them? And why would this inhibitor chip only work for a single order instead of all of the orders?
Once we're inside, I need you to get me a change of clothes, AZ.
Now AZ is just his butler. Here, let me smack you around, and while you're at it, go get some clothes.
I think I saw the Renegade's clone head into the storage room.
Alright, let's check it out.
All by myself. I'm not going to sound the alarm or anything. What? What?
The dude was wearing armor! You can't just punch a guy in What?
This is the Genetic Records Hall. It contains data on the original DNA of every being we have ever cloned.
Wouldn't there only be one?
If any tumor like this has been noted before, we will find it. It is foreign to the body. Someone implanted it there.
So do they go, manually and implant them?
We have a report from the Genetic Records Hall.
Explain.
Someone is accessing the Django Fett genotype.
It's them.
So they're they're in the genetics hall accessing the Django Fett genotype. But it's okay, for what purpose? As far as Shakti knows, the tumor is on its way to Coruscant right now. So it's okay, well, what are they doing in the genetics hall? They don't have anything. And yet maybe she wouldn't immediately leap to that conclusion, but I'm wondering, how this is gonna go. When she finds out that they have it, is she gonna be wait a minute, or is she gonna be no, I'm right over my head? I'm wondering.
Evacuate that room quietly.
Is there another way out of here besides the door we came in?
Yes, there are emergency access hatches in every major room in case of flooding.
Good. Let's keep moving.
There.
Okay, literally 5 seconds ago, that room was full of Kaminoans, and now they're all gone. I know Shakti said quietly evacuate, but how would whoever goes in there know to evacuate? Well, I guess, yeah, they would just evacuate the Kaminoans and not the very obvious clone trooper and droid. But still, you can't quietly evacuate in 5 seconds!
Yeah, no, he's being such a jerk to AZ. Here, get me clothes. Hold my gun. Do this. Do that. Nom, 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 nom. Justice for AZ.
It's no good. They sealed it from the inside.
Try. Sorry, no good. Maybe he's allied with Fives?
I need to find out if what was in Tup's head is in mine. You got it out of Tup, you can get it out of me.
He's you got it out of Tup. Yeah, and Tup died immediately after, you idiot. Did you forget about that?
We cannot be 100% sure if the chip is even there.
I know. It's there.
He's like, I know it's in me. How? How do you know? The beginning of this arc, they were like, oh, this is a separatist plot. So are you saying you know that you were, taken by the separatists at some point and you've got something in your head because of them? But, like, he doesn't know how it got in Tup. And their working theory up to this point has been that it's a separatist thing. And so we've had no indication that his mentality toward it has changed, unless he's gotten suspicious because of the way the Kaminoans are stonewalling. But I don't know. Nice empty hallway.
This will not hurt a bit.
Just like a typical doctor. Here, this won't hurt a butt.
Let's do this.
I love how they don't even scan first so that he knows where it is. He just goes to the exact same place that it was in the other guy and hope we hit something there and not just your brain.
Are you sure his breakdown was isolated?
There is no way of knowing that.
So, then I could snap too?
He's like, oh, now that the chip's been removed, I might snap like Tup. But when Tup had his removed, he's like, I'm finally free. I'm finally free. And he was himself again. So it was the other way around. Because I thought he was going to maybe I could die too. But he was like, oh, so I might snap and kill Jedi. Oh, no. Now that it's removed, even though that was what caused him killing the Jedi, once it was removed, he was like, oh, yes, now everything's better. But then he died.
Oh, great.
Put a helmet back on, maybe?
Ooh, la 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 la. Hello.
I guess those guys were not alerted to the problems. Oh, okay. Thank you. If they had done nothing, I would have been like, are you freaking serious?
We will start with the earliest stage of development. Nothing. I will now try a stage 3 embryo.
Why did he skip stage 2? What if it had been in stage 2? Wouldn't you go through them in order?
There it is.
Insanely lucky that they get it on the second try.
How do you explain this?
That is a structural inhibitor chip, which is supposed to prevent you from being aggressive.
They're soldiers. They're supposed to be aggressive. What? And he was very clearly acting aggressive before his chip was removed. I know she's lying, but could you at least pick a better lie? Please?
The Jedi instructed that inhibitor chips be implanted in us at birth.
They're placed somewhere at or before stage 3 of their development, not at birth.
These chips have to be removed. Otherwise, the entire Republic army could be compromised.
Okay, so she just told you that it's to inhibit aggression. His malfunctioned and he just straight up shot a Jedi. Yours has been removed and now you're pointing a gun at a doctor and freaking out at a Jedi and stuff like that, and you're saying that, oh no, we'd better get them all removed, otherwise the army as we know it could collapse.
Also, after they removed his chip, he was like, oh, I could snap like Tup. And now he's like, we need to get them all removed. No, he should be like, okay, use me as an experiment. Like, watch me so that you'll know what will happen with the others. He's just all over the place. He is all over the place.
I don't understand anything, and my brain is just...
When you removed Trooper Tup's chip, he died.
Well, that's not gonna happen to the rest of us.
And how do you know that?
Exactly. How do you know that?
Because I removed mine.
Okay, how long has he had his chip removed? He removes it and 20 minutes later he's like, oh, it's gonna be perfectly fine. Nothing's gonna happen because I waited all of 20 minutes.
Here is Clone Trooper 5's chip. As you can see, there is no sign of malfunction in either him or the chip.
Again, AZ is just like, oh, as you can see, there's no malfunction in the chip or in 5's. And meanwhile, 5's is freaking out and prodding this person with their gun repeatedly and yelling, and you're making it look like the chips are a good thing and better keep them in there. And I mean, like, that kind of makes sense, right? Again, because they can't have the Jedi actually being smart and figuring it out and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense that they'd have him be stupid so that it looks like the Doctor's telling the truth and it's to inhibit aggression. But at the same time, you're, again, just making your characters stupid for the sake of plot.
You were created in our laboratories. You are Kaminoan property.
Over and over and over, and the camera's like, oh, they're Kaminoan property, Kaminoan property, Kaminoan property. It's like, no, you sold it to the Republic. You created it for the Republic. They paid for it. It's theirs.
Where is the evidence?
I have it right here. As you can see, the chip taken from Clone Trooper Tup is black and rotting.
The Chancellor wanted all the data on top to be sent to Coruscant. We're sending the data, the tumor, and Fives along with it.
Oh, yeah, no, I was right. Shock T. They show her, oh look, here's Tup's chip in my hand here, and just didn't notice at all. It's supposed to be on its way to Coruscant. And she's just like, oh, it's here, okay. This is totally normal. There's nothing out of line with this. I called it. Moments like this, I hate being right. I want better, but I don't get better. I literally am like, oh, the bar's probably down here. And it's down here.
I'll see you on the other side.
The other side of what?
Droids.
Oh, that's so funny.
I hate this relationship between Fives and AZ.
But like, yeah, she's like, okay, you'll come with me to Coruscant. And then these people just like walk in with a stretcher. And it's like, do they just walk around with a stretcher and they just happen to walk into there? And like, why do they just show up with a stretcher? Like, I guess it's kind of like, oh, he can't just, walk because he's kind of under observation. And if he suddenly snaps, even though it was backwards with Tup, then because his aggression inhibitor chip has been removed, it does kind of make sense that if they're under the impression that it's supposed to inhibit his aggression and now it's removed, they should sedate him to transport him. That kind of makes sense. But like, the fact that the guy's just like, she like makes the decision and then the guys are there with the stretcher. It's like, were they expecting they were like coming to clean up a body? Like, how do these people know to just arrive on cue with a stretcher? It's like, I know it's a little thing, but it's just another on top of another. Like, it's just like the cherry on top of a sundae. Yeah, the cherry in and of itself is not very much, but it's everything else. It's just on top of everything else. But like, imagine this sundae is a rotting garbage heap that's on fire, and the little cherry is actually a cherry bomb, right? Like, yes, it's small, but it just makes everything worse. It's just like, if it was good, if this was like a because there's like, like I said, I'm recently finished rewatching Avatar, and I noticed a lot of little things that were like, oh, that's kind of convenient, or little visual continuity things, stuff like that. But I was like, you know what? It's for the purpose of, seamlessness, or they need the people to go from here to over there. They don't show them, or as people arrive on cue, even though they wouldn't necessarily know to be there. But like, when the rest of the writing is up here, little things don't really hurt it. But when the writing is already on the floor, it's every little thing. Every little thing.
It is kind of interesting, actually, because I think watching TCW has made me more critical in general of the media I consume. So, thanks for that, TCW. I can't turn my brain off at all now.
Send help. We need help after watching this show. I think everybody needs help after watching this show, but at least we realize we need help. And there's a lot of people walking around who don't realize that they need help after watching this show. Get help if you've watched this show.
This show is awful, terrible, disgusting. See you next week, of course.
We quit. We quit. We quit. We quit. We quit. We quit.